Well, what's that expression? Time is ticking, and all this while, Washington just punting, Americans continuing worrying. Despite all the new gadgets from the likes of Apple and Microsoft on sale just hours from now, new numbers showing close to half of Americans aren't going to be spending much anyhow. They're worried. They're worried about what's going to happen in the months to come, what's going to happen after the election. They're just worried, period. And when you're worried, what do? You retrench, whether it's health care costs that you see escalating, or regulations that you see increasing, or just storms that you see coming. John Layfield, the Energy CEO, and townhall.com editor Katie Pavlich on what to make of this. Katie, what do you make of this when so many are so anxious, and it takes more than a hot announcement from Microsoft and Apple on the same day to change their minds?
Right. Well, I think that the bad decisions of Washington fiscal policy are coming home to roost. But there's a lot of different factors at play here. You have Obamacare, which doesn't look like it's going to be recalled in January, even if Mitt Romney gets into office. You have people wanting to buy their own health care because they know that their employers are dropping their health care insurance. They're saving more money for their health care costs. And then you have hundreds of CEOs sending Congress and the president letters saying, look, you need to deal with this fiscal cliff that we're looking at, or else we're going to have to cut jobs. So all these people who work for these big companies and who are employed are worried that they're going to lose their jobs, so they're putting more money away for the future.
I think she hit the nail on the head, John. I think that, we are what we hear. And when we hear that Colgate-Palmolive is getting rid of 2,300 workers, DuPont 1,500 workers, A&D 1,800, and on and on and on, we naturally say, there, but by the grace of God, could go me. So we close up the wallet, right?
That's exactly what Americans are doing, right? Neil, you're right. So is Katie, who just mentioned about the fiscal cliff. You've had 158,000 corporate layoffs this year as compared to 129,000 last year. And I don't care if the unemployment rate is 7.8%. Or 10.8%. It's been high for a long time, and our labor participation rate at 63.6% is the lowest it's been in over 30 years. And 47 million Americans, the problem is not that they're on food stamps. The problem is that we have that many Americans that are in poverty. We have a lot of very structural issues in America right now, and Americans just aren't feeling confident. And when you have the Congress that we have, I don't care if Albert Einstein mixes with Theodore Roosevelt, we've got real problems.
Then, Katie, what is this disconnect between the retail angst and these guys who go nuts, women too, for the latest iPad or Mini or whatever, the latest Microsoft incarnation? Are tech buyers, what's happening at the tech front, is that just a unique beast, or how do you describe it?
I think it is a unique beast, and I think it would be interesting to look at the age brackets of who's actually buying those products. And the sad fact is that the majority of Americans have less than $500 in their bank account for savings. And so I think that, these spurts of growth for the economy through things like the new iPad mini, the new iPhone 5 are great, but it's kind of a Band-Aid on the overall picture of there aren't enough taxpayers growing the economy, which means there's not as many jobs. And so we get this satisfaction of getting the next new toy, but in the long run, it's kind of there isn't a big light at the end of the tunnel at this point.
John, what would it take to turn people's moods around? I don't think you need a cure overnight, but I do think you need a sense of light at the end of the proverbial tunnel. What would it be?
I think some type of conciliatory message, whoever becomes president with Congress. I think people look at this fiscal cliff and they know that something is wrong, and the people that usually get screwed in all this is the American consumer. And I think some type of conciliatory message that you would have after this election, because you've seen so much vitriol between the two that Americans know that nothing is going to get done in Washington, D.C., and I think that really bothers people. Whether we go off the fiscal cliff or not, we're stuck with the Congress that has had the most futile 2 years in American history, and Americans know that.
I had an expert on it a short time ago, Katie, talked about female voters and that they're concerned, perhaps more than any other demographic group, just speaking generally here, not to just compare them just to males, just as a group, about wallet issues. If that is so, and people are worried, if I'm Barack Obama, I would be very worried.
Well, he should be, and I don't think that the fancy new jobs pamphlet that he put out this week that you've been talking about on both of your shows is going to be enough for women in particular to see the cost of food going down and to change the price of the gas at the gas tank every week when they're trying to drive their kids to soccer. And you know, on the political point, you know, they're in a really, at this very moment, they're in a tough spot. You have President Obama and the Senate Democrats saying they're willing to go off of the fiscal cliff so long as Republicans don't want to raise taxes on the job creators. So even if Mitt Romney wins, you still have this lame duck session of the House Republicans not wanting to raise taxes for good reason on job creators, and the Senate Democrats and the president saying, we don't care if we go off the fiscal cliff, and at that point, it'll be Mitt Romney's problem.
Well, bottom line, no matter you're left or right, you could just see a car wreck coming for what it is. Guys, thank you both very much.